students, today we are going to study a chapter for standard 9 biology, tissues, plants and animals tissues. This is part 1. What we are doing in the video today is part 1. It will be followed by part 2. Now see, when we look at the body of an organism, we can see, we all know, we did the cells previously, we studied about the structure of the cell, we understood the various functions that go on inside the cell. So we said the cell is what? It is the structural and functional unit of all living things. All living things are made up of cell, hence. Now if we just left it at cell, the cell on its own would not be able to achieve what the entire organism can. For that reason, nature has made its own arrangements. So what were those arrangements? That many cells together make up a tissue. Now having said that, when I define a tissue, I should know very well that tissues are a group of similar cells. Now it's not like I take the body of an organism and I pick one cell from here, the other cell from there, and I say, okay, it's a group of cells, so it's a tissue. No, it's not correct. They should have a common origin. And what do? They perform a specific function. Specific function is the keyword here. Common origin is again the keyword here. So tissues are what? Groups of similar cells performing a specific function, and they have a common origin. Now, if we say, okay, now we have moved on from cells, we have moved on to tissues. Many tissues, several tissues together, when they have a specific function, they make up an organ. So how have we gone? We have gone from cells to many cells together tissues, many tissues together organs. And how organs? Because they are performing a specific function. Many tissues together make up the digestives, make up an organ like a stomach. So they have what is the role? It has a part to play in digestion. So what is it? Although they are different tissues, they are performing a specific function in a particular organ. So they make up an organ. From there, we can say many organs make up an organ system. Let's say the digestive system. It's made up of many organs, the stomach, the liver, and so on, intestines. All these are different organs. But together, they function as one unit and they form an organ system, many organs. And what is their function? What is their main agenda? What is the main role? That they perform a specific life process. What are life processes? Respiration, digestion. These are various life processes. Now let's go back. Many cells together come together to make tissues. The condition here applies that they should be of a common origin and they should be performing a specific function. Then we have many tissues together make up the organs. Many organs together make up the organ system. And many organ systems together make up an organism. This is how we move from one level to the other. This is how the organization of the body of an organism happens. Now students, if we look at the tissues, we are saying we have plant tissues making up the bodies of plants, animal tissues making up the bodies of animals. But this is part 1 of the lesson. Here we are going to study exclusively about plant tissues. That's why I have left this part out. We'll deal with this in part 2. Now let's come to plant tissues. We have two kinds, meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. So let me go back again. Meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. Meristematic tissues, what would be the special features of this tissue? Let's study it one by one. They are capable of division. Alright, if they are capable of division, they are responsible for growth. Quickly, we can understand first main difference between the two meristematic tissues, capable of division. Permanent tissues, they have become permanent, they have lost their ability to divide, so they are incapable of division. Now, responsible for growth, it can be length or it can be the girth or diameter anyways. So, let's see how the meristematic tissues function. They are responsible for growth. Where are they found? If they are growing, they will be found in the tips of roots and stems. Let's look at the simple plant, a simple structure of a plant. Suppose this is the root. I am drawing a very simple diagram, and we are going upwards like this. Leaves. Here we have the nodes, the internodes, the space, and we have the leaves and branches. So this is a very simple structure. Now let's see if this is the branch. If this is a branch, let's say this is the tip of a stem. So where are they found? At the apex of the stem, all over here, because this part is dividing. It is growing in length. And here in the tips of the roots, maybe side roots also, but here I have shown you only one root. So tips of the roots and stems and branches, wherever there is growth, active growth happening. Now, between the bark and the wood. Now if I want this plant to grow broad, like this, it has to grow broad. So there should be location of meristematic tissues here also. So here they are found and here they are found. They are found in other places as we go through the lesson. But basically understand, wherever there is part which is where there is cell division happening to increase the length or the breadth of the plant, over there we will find meristematic tissues. Now what kind of cells make up the meristematic tissue? Look at the diagram of the cell shown here. See how the cell looks. They are looking cuboidal in shape. They have a large nucleus. This is the large nucleus which I have shown here. You can see. So cuboidal in shape, boxes with a large nucleus. Vacuole is absent. Spaces in between are absent. See, intercellular, yeah, you can see spaces, no spaces, closely packed. So let's list this down. So it is cuboidal. Then we have large nuclei. Then we have vacuoles are absent. Vacuoles are absent or very reduced, mostly absent. Then no intercellular spaces. No intercellular spaces. So this is one way of understanding what is a meristematic tissue like. Let's go quickly through it. Meristematic tissues made up of cells that are capable of division. They are responsible for growth. The growth can be in the form of length or it can be in the form of diameter. You can see both ways. Length is increasing, diameter is increasing. And where is it found? It's found in the tips of roots and stems and branches and between the bark and the wood. Their cells, what is the description of their cells? They are cuboidal. They have a large nuclei, vacuoles are absent, no intercellular spaces. Now, after meristematic tissues, let's move over to the next type of plant tissues. These are the permanent tissues, incapable of division. That means cell division is now not happening. What happens? Meristematic tissues are new cells formed. After growth, after differentiation, these very meristematic tissues, they change into permanent tissues. So they have their own special features so that we can learn them and identify them. They are made up of mature cells. Meristematic cells are new cells. Permanent tissues is made up of cells, meristematic cells, cells which have grown over a period of time and become mature cells. They are specialized. So they have a specific role. They are permanent, they have a permanent shape, they have a permanent size and a permanent function. And either they can be living or they can be non-living. That means if they are living, they will have a nuclei. If they are non-living, their nuclei is absent. Now coming over to meristematic tissues, we are going to do, in this part of the lesson, we are going to do the meristematic tissues in detail. We just studied the features of the meristematic cell. Now let's see how we can divide the meristematic tissues. We can say they are of three types mainly: apical or terminal meristem, lateral or cambium meristem, and intercalary meristem. Now here for you I have drawn an imaginary plant. This is not a real plant, it's an imaginary plant. Now let's see what are the various parts. This is the growing tip of the plant. This part is growing tip of the plant. Here we have branches which grow this way. We have these axillary buds, and here we can see the root of the plant with its growing tip. So if I am saying apical or terminal meristem, terminal will be somewhere here, and apical, apex of the plant, this plant, the tip of the plant, apical meristem. Why here? Because it has to divide here so that the plant grows lengthwise upwards. It becomes tall and tall. Same way roots here have to grow downwards, again here. So they are found here at the apex of the, like this. mostly at the growing tip. So these will be fast dividing cells because they are meristematics. They make up the meristematic tissues. These are meristematic cells, quickly dividing. And here at the apex, hence the name apical or terminal meristem. Now let's see the next type of meristematic tissue, lateral meristem or cambium meristem. Now we don't want the plant just to grow height wise. So nature wants it to grow height, it wants to grow tall. At the same time, it wants it to grow broad also. So here somewhere these meristems will be found, lateral meristems. What do? They will increase the diameter of the plant as it grows. So lateral meristem or cambium meristem. Then come the intercalary. Now this part of the plant, this is a node. These are nodes. So this part is these nodes. As these nodes grow, you can see this part of the node, this part of the plant, these are nodes. So these are found here, intercalary meristem. They help these parts between the nodes are the internodes. So it increases again the length of the tree, the height of the tree increases because of this. So they are found where? At the nodes. So terminal, you can see at the tips of the plants, cambium, those are increasing the height. These are the lateral or cambium meristems here on the side, and they are increasing the diameter. And then we have the intercalary at the nodes of the plant. Now let's study the permanent tissues. We can classify permanent tissues again into three kinds. The first one are the protective tissues, the supporting tissues, and the complex tissues. So three kinds: protective, supporting, and complex. Now let us look at the protective tissues. If they are protective, they have to perform the function of protection. Hence they are thick-walled cells. They are made up of cells that have thick wall. Where are they found? On the surface of the root, stem, leaves. Epidermal kind of cells, waxy coating of leaves. They are found waxy coating of leaves. Now, let us see their function. If it is a waxy coating covering the leaves, it is naturally playing its role of protection. They are also found in the cork cells in the bark. Cork cells of the bark. So it's performing its function of protection. Permanent tissues. We have divided the permanent tissues again into three kinds: protective tissues, supporting tissues, and complex tissues. We just studied protective. Now let us do the supporting tissues. Now we have three kinds again: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Now let's see what is this parenchyma about. What is the parenchyma tissue? These are made up of cells which are very thin walled. They are generally oval in shape. They are thin walled. They have a large vacuole. Intercellular spaces are present between them. They are found in soft parts. So this is the general structure of the parenchymatous cells. Now let's see what would be the function of parenchyma in the plant. What are the functions of these cells, these parenchymatous tissues? Their main function is to store food, some support because they are soft, little temporary support they provide, and sometimes they contain chloroplast, and they are at that time they are known as chlorenchyma. They can produce food because they are containing these chloroplasts. They are producing food by the process of photosynthesis. So easy way to learn supporting tissues. Divide them into three categories: the parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Now let's see again. If I look at the features, what we should do when we are studying the features. Now after parenchyma, when we go to collenchyma, compare the cells and see. Comparison between parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma can be on the basis of the structure of their cells and also on their functions. Let us now study the second type of supporting tissue, the collenchyma. What kind of cells it is made up of? It's made up of elongated cells, thickened cell walls. Now if suppose this is a cell, this is a collenchymatous cells, the cell walls are thickened mainly at the corners here. at the corners, more so at the corners of the cells. So hence we say thickened cell walls, and with what is the material? Cellulose. The cell wall outside, thickened one, mostly at the corners, it is made up of cellulose. Vacuoles are very small, and as you see, the parenchyma had large vacuoles, were prominent present vacuoles. Here we have the vacuoles have become little smaller, they have become small. And between these cells, intercellular spaces are absent. Why? Because there is a lot of deposit of this cellulose. So it is filling up the spaces, intercellular spaces are absent. Where are they found? In the leaf stalks. Now, because the cellulose has deposited here, it makes it little hard. And that is why this collenchyma plays a very important role in providing support to the plant. Now, where is it? See the leaf stalk. Take any plant which has take a leaf. You can see the leaf. If you look at the leaf stalk, you'll find that it is little hard to touch. Why? Because this has cellulose is deposited here, making it hard, hence allowing it to provide support to the entire structure of the plant. Collenchyma plays a role in providing support. When you are studying parenchyma, collenchyma, please compare them based on various criteria. Now let us learn about the third kind of supporting tissue. It is the sclerenchyma. What is it made up of? Long, narrow, dead cells. And what is there under collenchyma? We have studied that it is deposited with cellulose. Here it is deposited with lignin. So lignin makes the walls of the cells very thick. Vacuoles are absent, nucleus is absent. When I am saying the word dead cells, that means the vacuole is absent and the nucleus is absent. That makes the cell a dead cell and heavy deposit of lignin. Where is it found? In the veins of the leaves, outer coverings of the seeds and nuts, and its main function is to provide support to the plant again. Now let us look at all three of them. These are living cells. These are also living, but these are dead cells. So three kinds of supporting tissues. Compare them based on various criteria, and then jot down your points in the form of a table so that you can revise quickly. Let us study with the help of these simple diagrams. These are very simple diagrams that I have put down for you. Let us revise quickly how these cells appear. Now look at this parenchymatous cell. Thin-walled, large vacuole, nucleus. There will be many like this together. I have just drawn one for you to understand the structure, how it works. So, all the features are covered in this type of a cell. See, close they are, but still there are these spaces here known as intercellular spaces. So, the wall is thin, large nucleus, large vacuole nucleus, and you can see it's a living cell. So, this is a living cell. It's living, it's alive. Then let's come to collenchyma. Now I said there are on the corners here, the walls, heavy deposit of cellulose because of its supporting role. Hence intercellular spaces are gone. If it is alive, if it is living, then the nucleus is present. But if it has already differentiated and moved on, then it will be a non-living. It will become a non-living or dead cell. Non-living or dead cell. If it is non-living, then the nucleus, no nucleus. When it's living, then there will be nucleus is present. So, deposit of cellulose here, lacking of intercellular spaces, vacuoles very small. And if it's alive, nucleus is present. And if it is non-living, it's dead, then it will lack the nucleus. Now let us look at the sclerenchyma. These cells, sclerenchymatous cells, as you can see here, I'll draw it here for you. The sclerenchyma cells, long like this, fibrous, if you look at here, there's very thick deposit. It's like all the spaces in between are full of lignified. It's completely lignified with lignin. This is a section. This we are looking like this, and here is the section. If you cut a section of this, you cut it like this, they will appear like this. So heavy lignification has happened here. Lignified it is. So its role is, now they are dead. These are not alive. These are not dead cells. Dead cells. So hence they will have no nucleus, no vacuole, and their main role is to provide support to the plant. So these simple diagrams will help you understand their structures and help you to remember. Practice them as you're studying the various kind of cells. Now, after the supporting tissues, let us study now the conducting tissues. These are also known as vascular because they are involved in conducting of water and food. So, they are again of two types, xylem and phloem. Now, let us look at all the three tissues, all the three kinds of permanent tissues, and recapitulate a little bit about how they work. Now, if we say protective, they are protecting. These are the other kind, the supporting kind, which we just now studied, and the conducting or the vascular tissues. You all are familiar with these terms called xylem and phloem. Now, we will study the xylem and phloem in detail. Now, if I am looking at protective and supportive tissues, these both are simple permanent tissues. Why simple? Because they are made up of one kind of cells. Only one kind of cells. Or one type of cells, one kind of cells, you can say anyway. And this tissue is made, it is why then this tissue together, all this will be called, it will be called complex. Why complex? Because it is made up of many kinds of cells. Hence, know the difference, why we are using the word complex here and why we are using the word simple there. Simple means it is made up of one kind of cell. Complex means it is made up of many kinds of cells. Let us look at the features of the xylem in detail. What kinds of cells make up the xylem? Elongated, thick-walled cells. Now see, the xylem, its purpose is to conduct water from the roots to the leaves and the upper parts. Upward movement of water, it takes it from the soil, from the soil, it forms a complete tubular like tube to carry the water, upward movement of water. And in the water, whatever minerals are dissolved, so they are conducted up via the xylem. So it's like has a pipe like structure for transportation of water from the roots upwards to all the parts of the plant. Now that is why it is these cells are elongated and they are thick-walled. They are one over the other, they are placed, they are thick-walled and they are elongated, forming tube-like structures. Older xylem tissues, after it becomes old, after a period of time, it forms wood. Now see, age of the tree, it is easy to count the age of the tree by studying the concentric rings of xylem, you can see. So this is its application, like the rings can be counted and the xylem rings can be counted and the age of the tree can be studied. Now if we look at the xylem, we said it's a complex tissue. So naturally it is made up of many kinds of cells. See, we can see here the four kinds here: xylem tracheids, xylem vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. Out of this, all of these are dead cells. Only the xylem parenchyma here is a living cell. These are all dead cells. Let us now study the various kinds of cells that make up the xylem. Now let's look at them. They can be of these main types. We just now studied the xylem and phloem as complex tissue. Now let us look at the various things that make them up. The first kind are the xylem tracheids. If you look at the xylem tracheids, they are elongated cells. They are arranged end to end to form tubes. Why tubes? Because they have to transport water and dissolve minerals. They have large cavities. So naturally they should have cavities because they have to transport again. The walls are lignified. Now if we look at sometimes based on the lignification, suppose the lignification is like this, round here, it's lignified like this. This can be called annular. Suppose the lignification is like this is a spiral. Suppose it is in the form of a net, the lignification is in the form of a net, it is called reticulate. Suppose it is in the form of pits, it is pitted. So based on the lignification we can classify these tracheids. They are pitted, reticulate. Reticulate means network. Reticulate. Then we have this spiral. Here we can see annular. Annular means ring-like. Annular. So again these tracheids can be further classified based on the kind of lignification is happening there. Then we have xylem vessels. the name vessels itself says that it should be something cylindrical, tube-like, and because they are going upwards into the plant, they are placed end to end. They also have lignified cell walls. Now, if you look at these, they have these transverse walls. These are dissolved. They are gone away. Why they are gone away? The purpose is because it can provide a continuous path for the water to rise. If these transverse walls were there, it would have been a hindrance here. Then let's come to xylem parenchyma. These are the living cells of the xylem. Main function, storage of food and conduction of water. Xylem fibers. The name fiber says that it should be something tough, thick-walled, long fiber, long, narrow with tapering ends. And if it's a fiber, it is thick-walled. Naturally, it will be something that is tough. Hence, it provides support. Its main function is to provide support. So these are all the things that make up the xylem. Why are we calling it complex? Because it's not made up of one kind of cells. Many kinds of cells make up the xylem. Now let us study the phloem. What could be the main function of the phloem? They are responsible for the downward and upward movement of food. So in both directions, in all directions, the phloem carries food. Food is prepared in the leaf or in the other green parts, and then it moves downwards to the other parts of the plant. It goes upward to other parts of the plant. So phloem is responsible for the transport and the movement of food. Now let's see, let us classify them again. See the cells, these are sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. So these are the four main kinds of cells. Again, it's a complex tissue, hence it is made up of different kinds of cells. Now let us go one by one. Sieve tubes, elongated cells placed end to end. Now if I draw for you a diagram of the phloem, suppose I say this is a sieve tube. So here you will have little perforations here. It's like a sieve plate, it's called. This is, and again before the next cell there will be little perforations here. Small perforation. This is the sieve plate. So these are the sieve tubes. These are the transverse walls which are perforated. Now what is the function of the sieve tube? This is the sieve tube. It forms a tube-like structure. So it carries out this downward and upward movement of food. Now let us look at the companion cells. They will be companion. The name is saying itself. The name itself is telling you that they are the companions. Companions means they are closely associated with the sieve tubes. What did I say? These are the sieve tubes. These are the companion cells. Companion cells. Then we have, so what would be they doing? What would they be doing? They are helping the sieve tube to function in a better way. They are providing support and they are enabling it to do its function well, closely associated with the sieve tubes. Now, then we have the next kind, phloem parenchyma. These are also parenchymatous cells. They are also around here in the phloem. So you can see this is phloem parenchyma. It is closely associated again here with the sieve tubes. Then we have the phloem fibers. They are supporting the phloem. So if you see a cross section of the phloem, you can see locate these sieve tubes. You can see this perforations here mentioned over there. So in the end, we can see that all the cells here, other than the fibers, they are all living cells. And the phloem fibers are sclerenchymatous. Their main function is to support. Hence, they are sclerenchymatous. Hence, they are non-living, like the dead cells. So, over a period of time, cells differentiate from meristematic to permanent tissues, and then finally they may be living in the beginning, but afterwards when they get lignified, they become, the nucleus goes away, the vacuole is gone, so it becomes dead cell. But in a plant, its function becomes very important because they provide support to the plant. Now when you are studying tissues, this was part 1 of your lesson. When you are studying tissues, take a big paper and make a flow chart and list down all the various kinds of tissues, different cells that make up the tissues, and list down their points comparatively, so that when you are studying, you get to see all the tissues at a glance. If we come back and we look at the complex tissues, you can see I spoke about 2 things, xylem and phloem. Now, for your knowledge and information, you must know that together when we are looking at them, they form the vascular bundles. You can see the midrib of the leaf. You can see over there, if a section is cut, you'll be able to see the xylem and phloem together in section. So that time we use the word vascular bundle. Means what? The xylem and the phloem together make up the vascular bundle. These are the xylem and the phloem together making up the vascular bundle. So children, as you study the lesson, list down. In the next part, we are going to deal with the animal tissues.